What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. And the Flyers, they get a very huge 2 points tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I thought they were going to blow it. I thought they were going to blow it. My butt cheeks were clenched. I'm sure everyone's butt cheeks were clenched because that was a very stressful third period. They do make it 4-2, but then of course it can never be easy because the Flyers decide to ice the puck with an empty net, and I don't care how much you're winning by, you should not be icing the puck regardless of the score. I don't care if there's an empty net down the other side. Don't ice the puck. If you're going to dump it down the ice, make sure you hit the goddamn net, and that's not what happened. And then Toronto, off that ensuing icing, made it 4-3, but then the Flyers survived. Then they survived. They survived. They grabbed the 2 points. Lots of things to talk about. Sean Couturier, healthy scratched. A lot of controversy surrounding that. A lot of controversy. Flyers social media, Flyers Twitter is up in shambles. In literal shambles. Tortorella trying to press buttons. People don't like it. I'll share my opinion in a little bit on that. But Tortorella obviously pressed the buttons, and the team did respond today, especially very early in this game. You go up 3-0 on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Morgan Frost and Owen Tippett were huge parts of that. And honestly, I would even say Cam York and Travis Sanheim. Cam York has been a beast for a while now, and good thing for Travis Sanheim to have a good game, even though I do hate what he did on one of the Toronto goals, because he kind of stood there like a pylon just watching everything happen and unfold there. But Owen Tippett was the beast tonight. Morgan Frost was a beast tonight. Those guys stepped up when you needed to, when your coach was making a statement to the locker room by healthy scratching the captain of the team. I'm sure he was trying to get a spark out of the boys. I'm sure at this point it's classic John Tortorella making himself the villain, so the entire team basically turns against him and, responds and puts up, a performance that can get them 2 points. And the big thing after this now is, how is Sean Couturier going to respond? Because in my personal opinion, I did not like the way Sean Couturier was basically explaining himself, basically after the news came out that he was healthy scratched. I did not like his response to it. And overall with the entire situation regarding Couturier, I don't agree with healthy scratching him, just because I still feel like even when he's not playing his best, he still puts you in a best possible position to win games, especially on the defensive side of the puck. Yes, I understand he's not producing offensively. That is a given. I believe he only has 1 point since February. So yeah, that's definitely not a recipe for success right there. I can completely understand that from John Tortorella's standpoint. I need more from one of my best players, especially the guy that's the face of the team, the guy that wears the C on the jersey. I need more production, and I need way more out of you. That's what Torts is trying to do. He's not picking on Sean Couturier because he hates him. This is just the John Tortorella experience. No one's untouchable. No one's unscratchable. We've seen him do it with Morgan Frost so many times. We've seen him do it with Bobby Brink so many times. Joel Farabee even, getting benched an entire game. Travis Konechny getting benched an entire game for their mistakes. So everyone basically is not untouchable at this point. If you're the captain, you're going to get benched if Tortorella thinks you need to be benched. If you're an alternate captain, or if you're just, one of the lower guys in the lineup, you guys are not, untouchable either. So I can understand it from John Tortorella's standpoint. I just, from the base value, I just don't agree with benching a guy that I still believe on the defensive side of the puck can give you a better chance to win a game, especially when you're going up against a team like Toronto that has all the powerhouses in the world, basically all the top tier talents. And yes, I know you could put the argument out there that last week with Couturier in the lineup against Toronto, they got blown out. So yeah, there's arguments to be put around all of that stuff. But it worked. It worked for today. The team responded, and now we just got to see what happens on Saturday when, John Tortorella comes up to the lineups. Is he going to healthy scratch Coots for 2 games in a row? Is the message still going to be spent out there? And we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think he's going to bench Sean Couturier for that long. I think Couturier gets the message. Even though, like I said, I don't agree with how Couturier handled himself, I think he could have been a little more professional in that interview, which, understandably at that point, he was very frustrated. I'm sure he's very frustrated with the way that he's playing and the way that he's not producing. And I guess maybe a little bit all of that out there, kind of came out in that interview, and he just wasn't happy, and maybe he just got the wrong message across that he probably didn't want to share. There were some things that did stand out, how he doesn't like how he's being treated or something like that. So that's definitely going to put Flyers Twitter in a jumble and all the John Tortorella haters in a jumble, because there definitely are a lot of loud John Tortorella haters out there in the Philadelphia Flyers fandom. There definitely is a lot of those guys out there. But we're just going to have to wait and see how this plays out. Coots, I'm sure they're going to have a one-on-one discussion, him, Torts, maybe even Danny Briere when Danny comes back from the GM meetings. I'm sure they're going to air this out. Torts understands what he's trying to get the most out of a player when he fully believes that he's a player. And people even tried to bring up the conversation, why are you benching a guy that you just named the captain? What's the point of even giving him the C if you're just going to bench him, honestly? Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're wearing this C. You're not untouchable to John Tortorella. Anybody on that's under a John Tortorella team, regardless if it's the star player or the bottom sixer that's trying to crack the lineup, no one's untouchable. That is basically it, and that's what we've been through with the John Tortorella experience, and that's the John Tortorella experience every destination it goes. And John Tortorella definitely is a mainstay for a lot of the teams that he has coached in the National Hockey League. A lot of the people say that he has a short shelf life, and that is a completely lazy narrative. He spent so long with teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, with teams like the New York Rangers, with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Long tenures there, at least 5-6 years. The one team that he probably had the short gate with was the Vancouver Canucks, and that was just a complete disaster of what that team was in general. So they just decided to part Torts with right that, because that team wasn't built for Torts at that end of the day. And then Torts went to Columbus, and he probably provided Columbus the most success that they've had in their franchise history at that point. So he was a major reason for that. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't agree with it fully, but I do understand what Torts is trying to do. Also, just something that kind of rubs me the wrong way is that Torts didn't say anything to the media about the entire thing. It was Rocky Thompson that spoke to the media pre-game, so I'm not entirely sure if Torts even spoke post-game. So I do want to check that out of Torts. Here we go. This is from Charlie O'Connor. Torts declined to answer any questions related to Sean Couturier and the scratching. Said it was between him and Coots. It's understandable, He's definitely going to keep that between closed doors. I don't mind that. At least just say something. That's basically it. Even if it's like, I decline the comment, at least just show up for the press conference. That's mainly what I'm wanted there from John Tortorella. Not putting Rocky Thompson out there, especially in that hard set, especially when you bench the captain. That's all what it is at the end of the day. And you did get the 2 points. That's all that matters. You score very early in this game, like 20 seconds in. Great play by Morgan Frost on the low side. Hands it off to Cam York, who makes a nice little dish pass off the boards to Owen Tippett, and he just throws it on net with a bunch of bodies in front, and the puck goes in. You're all up and running 1-0. So, hey, let's go, instant response right there from the boys. It took 20 seconds after Cooch got benched to score a goal and make it 1-0. And that's basically what the first period was. Toronto did get their legs a little bit, but the Flyers, I do believe, played better defensively in that first period, and I do believe they shared better of the chances in that first period, so they end the period 1-0. There definitely was chances for them to score many goals in the first 2 periods, especially for Toronto, man. Toronto, throughout the entire game, I feel like they hit, 9,276 posts. That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. Just post, doink, doink, doink. Kind of felt like Toronto could have had 6 goals on the board with how many posts they're hitting. And I guess you could say at the end of the day, that's also just the way the NHL goes sometimes. One night you're scoring 6 goals, and the other night you can't buy one because you're cranking iron so many times. Seriously, how could one team get that unlucky? And especially in the second period, too. After you score early once again in the first minute of the period, Travis Sanheim, after, the Garnet halfway line, they force some turnovers deep in Toronto's zone because they're fumbling with the puck, and then he finds Travis Sanheim wide open on the right circle, and he just wires it past Samsonov for a 2-0 lead. And then you got to give a lot of credit to Cam York, because the very next shift, the very next face-off after the goal, Toronto came the other way. Austin Matthews, I'm not sure who took the shot initially, but Austin Matthews dishes it over to a guy with a wide open net, and this net was wide open. And here comes Cam York out of nowhere blocking the shot, where it's a wide open net. If Cam York doesn't touch this puck, it's going in the net. Toronto instantly responds after you make it 2-0, but Cam York comes up with a huge block, and it's all she wrote right there. So kudos right there to Cam York. And like I said, Cam York has been really, really good. I feel like he has gone under the radar a little bit because he's not, so far he hasn't been the biggest offensive producer here, but he is becoming a damn fine two-way defenseman. A damn fine. He's becoming a good puck mover. He's very good looking on the power play, might I add. I understand that Flyers power play, it's still bottom in the league, but when I see the unit out there with Morgan Frost, Cam York, and Owen Tippett, they make some nice plays. They make some really nice plays, and I feel like they'll get rewarded more times than not the more, those guys are connected with each other on that power play unit specifically. So we're just going to see how that, ages out and progresses on that standpoint. But good old Cam York there. And then later on in the period, Toronto, like I said, they just continue to hit post after post. Sam Ersson coming up with some big saves, even made a huge save off of a breakaway on the Flyers power play. So that was huge for him. And, even good game for Sam Ersson to get a little bit of revenge against Toronto because he was pulled in that last game against Toronto last week on Thursday. So, a little bit of revenge there. Like I said, I don't think any of the goals tonight were really on him, specifically. One of them was a tap in. One of them was just, complete miscommunication with the defense and leaving a guy wide open right in front of the goaltender. And then another goal from Nylander was just a wire and a rip off the power play when the Flyers couldn't clear the zone. He was just wide open there, and Nylander is not going to hit the post from that spot. That just isn't going to happen. But, Morgan Frost, at the end of the second period, after the Flyers get a little bit of extended zone time from the blue line, throws the puck on net, more bodies in front, goes through the screen. 3-0 Flyers are going into the intermission. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, let's have a shutdown third period. That's not a collapse like we did against Boston to where we're allowing 3 goals in a span of, 4 minutes or something like that. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that. And then Toronto scores in the first minute because the Flyers took a penalty. Nylander scores. And then halfway through the period, Bertuzzi scores. Then obviously I thought Toronto was going to score again, but they didn't. But then the Flyers took a penalty. And then they couldn't score. And then Lawton comes out of the box. He tries to hit Tippett for a one-timer after he does a little spinorama. Tippett whiffs on it, brings it around the net. Samsonov's flying all over the crease. And Owen Tippett finds Lawton, who buries it into an empty net. Flyers go up 4-2. What the fuck happened in that sequence? I don't care. Flyers are back up by 2 goals. I'll take that. I will take that. Then Toronto pulls the goaltender with the final minutes. They get a goal. Like I said, after, very early in this video, Flyers tried to ice the puck with the empty net. Like I said, I don't care how much you're winning by. Don't be icing the puck. If you're trying to hit the net, hit the fucking net from that far. You can't be icing the puck, especially with your guys out there for an extended shift, and that led to the Toronto goal. It did. Flyers managed to survive, though. Managed to clear some pucks. Avoided an icing. They win. They got some help from the standings as well today. In terms of the Islanders, they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes. I know the Detroit Red Wings, they came back from a 3-2 late in the third period against the Blue Jackets, and they won in overtime, so that doesn't help in terms of wildcard standings. And Washington, they just keep on winning. I believe they won last night against the Calgary Flames. Yeah, so Washington just keeps winning. But if you're looking at some of these other teams that you are fighting with in the standings, the Islanders, they're in the middle of their very hard schedule. They just played the Rangers, they lost to them. They just played the Hurricanes, they lost to them. So they got some losses in there. Their next game is against Detroit, who just won tonight, so that's going to be a tough game for New York. They play Winnipeg on Saturday. They play the Devils on, looks like they have a couple of days off in between that, so I'm going to look at over here. So yeah, they play Detroit on Thursday. They play Winnipeg on Saturday, New Jersey on Sunday, so it's a back-to-back at home for them. Then they have 3 days off after that, and then they play Florida and Tampa on the road. And then if you go into their April schedule, it's a little bit easier, but they still have some tough games. Flyers, of course, back-to-back that with the Chicago Blackhawks, so that's a little bit of a weird one there. Then they play Columbus. Then they play Nashville at home. Then they play the Rangers at home. Then they play Montreal at home. Then they play the Rangers on the road, the Devils on the road, and their final game of the season is against the Penguins at home. And if we look at the Washington Capitals in terms of their schedule, I do believe their schedule gets tougher from here on out in terms of going to the rest of the season. They just came back from a Western Canadian road trip, and Look at this schedule right here. The next, 6 games. Toronto at home, Carolina at home, Winnipeg at home, Detroit at home, Toronto on the road, and Boston at home. It's a very tough 5-game stretch. And granted, 5 of those 6 games are at home, so we'll see how that benefits Washington. And then if you go into April, they play Buffalo on the road, Pittsburgh at home, and then followed by a back-to-back on the road in Carolina on that Friday after the Pittsburgh game. They play Ottawa at home, Detroit on the road, Buffalo on the road. Then their final 3 games are Tampa Bay, Boston, and then the Flyers on the last game of the season. So, and especially with that Boston game, that's a back-to-back for Washington when they play the Flyers next. So, who knows, that last game of the season could definitely determine a playoff spot for the Flyers, and that could be a huge benefit that, Washington's playing a back-to-back. That could be a huge benefit in that standpoint, but you still got to win your games. You still got to win your games. Your schedule's eventually going to ease up a little bit, but still you're in the middle of the gauntlet for these last 4 games here before you get into that Montreal game. You play Carolina on Thursday, Boston on Saturday, Florida on Monday, and then the Rangers on Tuesday. It's a very tough 4-game stretch, and especially for one of these games, you're going to have to see Felix Sandstrom. I would assume he's going to be playing the back-to-back at some point, whether that's against Boston, whether that's against Florida. I know you could probably make the argument that both of those games are at home, and maybe you can afford to start Sam Ersson for both of those since there's no travel. We'll see how John Tortorella plays that book, but I don't think he's going to play that book, and I think Sandstrom is going to start one of those games because you're going to have to start Sandstrom. You just can't ride Ersson into the ground. You just can't do that. And then you got, like I said, you got the Rangers after the Florida game. Then you got Montreal. Then you got Chicago. Then you go into the April schedule. Islanders. Then you have 3 days off after that. A back-to-back on a Friday and Saturday with Buffalo and Columbus, so that's going to be tough. Buffalo has been playing a lot better as of late, and especially on a back-to-back against the bad team. We'll see how that happens. Then you get 2 days off. You play Montreal on the road and the Rangers on the road. And then you have your final 2 games of the season. The Devils on April 13th, and then you have 2 days off before the Capitals game on the 16th for the final game of the season. And then looking at the standings right now, you have a little bit of more comfortability there since you are, if we're looking at just the division in general, you are 3 points ahead of the Washington Capitals. They got 2 games in hand, and I believe Washington is playing tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow. So it'll go back to 1 game in hand, and we'll see what the result is there. And then you're also 5 points ahead of the Islanders, who have 1 game in hand. And then you're 8 points ahead of the Devils. You're 9 points ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins, so you really don't have to worry about those 2 teams at this point because you have the same amount of games played now as the Devils, and the Penguins only have 1 game in hand, so you really don't have to worry about those 2 teams. It's really just the Capitals and the Islanders at this point, and those teams are going to start their tough schedules. So maybe you could factor in some losses for those guys because it really does not make sense that the Washington Capitals are winning this many games. It really does not make sense at all. They got a minus 27 goal differential. That just shows you how very bad the Metropolitan Division is this year. Very bad. The Flyers have a minus 5 goal differential. They're in 3rd place. The Caps have a minus 27. They're in 4th. The Islanders have a minus 23, and they're in 5th. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Well, if I'm looking at the Capitals right now, they are a very dominant home team, and their schedule is at home the next few games against these tough teams. So we'll see how it happens. The Capitals are definitely going to lose some of these games. They gotta. They're not going to win every single one of them. I don't care that Ovechkin is waking up. We'll see what happens here. We'll definitely see. Good win tonight. We'll see how everything progresses with the Couturier situation. I don't think he's going to be healthy scratch for that long. I would expect him back in the lineup on Saturday against Boston, or actually Thursday against Carolina, actually. I don't know why I skipped the whole day. But honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he's healthy scratched again. We'll see. Maybe they're playing the whole rest card and getting Sean Couturier a couple of days off his legs. So we'll see. We'll see how it progresses here. It's going to be a tough one on Thursday, though. Definitely a tough one with Carolina. Definitely a very tough one. They've been playing a lot better as of late. Their goaltending's been a lot better as of late, so you got to be ready for that one. So that'll do it for tonight, everybody. I appreciate you all for tuning in whenever you decide to. Do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Do not pass it up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And I'll see you next time.